Welcome to another edition of, I'm going to say it, Connor Brown. I haven't changed the logo, but Creator News Live, gosh darn it. We're going to start calling it that because it's that over on YouTube. I've got to figure out how to do all these changes with Facebook and like even if that matters or not. But hey, thank you guys for watching today. We're going to be talking about AI workflows. Ian Anderson Gray is going to jump in as soon as he can. He's running a little late. It's probably because it's boiling hot over in the UK. But we'll be talking about that today. But hey, by the way, I wanted you guys to, if you don't follow my newsletter, I want you to make sure you do that. Go over to Jeff. Oh, here he is. He's coming in. Let me bring him in really quickly. There he is. Let me go here. You're seeing behind the scenes, folks, as we figure out all this stuff because he is running a little late. There he is in the green room. There he is, Ian Anderson Gray. Can you hear us, Ian?
What's up?
I'm so sorry I'm late. I had some technical issues.
That's all right. Are you hot and boiling in the UK?
Yeah, I've got loads of fans going on. Hopefully you can't hear them. I've got like loads of frozen things going around. I've got my cold water. I'm all good. And I was going to put my feet in a bucket of cold water, but I didn't have time for that. So
that'd be with all the electricity around. That's how they
probably not a good
electrocute
idea.
people here in Texas, right? Yeah, that's how we put people out of their misery here in Texas. So I was telling everybody we are changing the name of the show to Creator News Live. It's not reflected up in the logo over in that direction, but if you aren't a part of my newsletter, if you go to jeffsieh.com/news, we had a poll on some of these new logos. Right here, you can see them. We have these three we're trying to choose from, and I would love it if you guys would tell me in the comments which one you like. And I'm going to kind of rotate through them really quickly. So is it logo 1? That's the first one, the first concept. So let us know if you like that one down in the comments. This is logo 2. We'd probably clean up a little bit of that funky stuff at the top, but that is kind of the concept. So logo 2 or logo 3. Let us know in the comments which one you like. I'm going to be like your optometrist. It's like number 1 or number 2.
Better 1, better 2.
Better 1, better 3. Yeah. So anyway, so if you guys would let me know which one you like. Number 1, top left, number 2 on the right top, and then on the bottom, number 3. Let me know down in the comments which one you like. But that's not why we're here. We're here for the amazing Ian Anderson Gray and his amazing AI workflow. So without further ado, I'm going to hit go on the podcast machine and we will get started. Hello, folks. Welcome to Creator News Live. I'm Jeff Sieh, and you're not.
And I'm Connor Brown, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and more.
Have you ever stared at a mountain of content tasks and wondered how on earth AI could lend a hand? Or maybe you're curious about wiring your favorite tools together so a podcast practically builds itself. Or maybe you'd love to talk an idea out loud and see usable code appear on screen moments later. If any of that sounds familiar, you are in for a treat because today we're excited to have Ian Anderson Gray back on the show. He's an AI consultant who turns complex tech into clear, practical workflows for creators and teams alike. Ian's going to unpack voice-powered prompting, some automations, and his go-to notebook tricks that keep inspiration flowing. So sit back, clear your schedule, and clear your mind and get ready for this week's episode of Creator News Live. Ian, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm staying cool for the time being. It's really hot. We don't have air conditioning, but other than that, it's all going well. I hopefully my brain will keep working for the next 55 minutes.
That's right. Well, I hope so too. That would be bad.
That's all we ask. Just 55 minutes, and then you're on your time, and you're on your own. Basically,
right.
We always love having our buddy Ian Anderson Gray on the show. And if you don't know who Ian is, you should. Ian is an AI consultant, trainer, speaker, and creative tech specialist. He helps entrepreneurs, subject matter experts, and corporate teams adopt transformative, human-centered AI with clarity and confidence. He lives near Manchester in the United Kingdom, and actually he's trained as a professional classical singer at the Royal Northern College of Music. Ian, I have to ask, Manchester, music, did you get Oasis tickets?
Yeah, I'm sorry to say I didn't, because they cost like ridiculous amounts of money.
Yep.
But I could probably have heard them as how loudly they were playing, because it's not too far away from us where they were playing. So yeah, it's a musicy place, is Manchester.
Well, Ian, we welcome you to this show, but this is the first time I've actually created for you a theme song, because we've been doing these theme songs lately. So Here is yours. Here we go.
It's Ian Anderson Gray, the man with a plan, a lot to say. Tune in now, don't delay. It's Ian Anderson Gray.
That's right, folks. It's Ian Anderson Gray. So that was made with AI, if you haven't figured that out yet. But that's a lot of fun. But I want to do a shout out before we jump right into the show to our friends over at Ecamm. You can find out more about them at ecamm.com/Jeff. You can save 15% by using code Jeff15 on your first purchase. And that AI stuff that we've been talking about for doing a live show presentations, we're actually going to be talking about that at Creator Camp. And I will be one of the speakers coming up. I think they only have a couple of tickets left. So make sure you go to ecamm.com, check out Creator Camp, because that is coming up shortly. It's going to be a lot of fun. And they even announced this week, Connor and I were talking about before the show, Ecamm Creator Camp in the UK. So Ian, that is going to be in your neck of the woods. So that's pretty awesome.
I know. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, for some reason they've involved me. So
well, there you go.
I'm going to be there. So if you're in the UK or anywhere, come to the UK next year. It's going to be fun.
I really want to. I hope I get to come. But anyway, thank you to Ecamm for sponsoring the show. We're going to jump right into kind of your AI journey, because you've got some pretty cool stuff going on, Ian. And I think a lot of people in our audience are going to really kind of resonate with this, and maybe even get some great ideas for their own business. So your background is really unique. So you're trained as a professional classical singer at the Royal Northern College of Music, I believe, and now you're an AI consultant and creative tech specialist, helping people use AI for human-centered creativity. So how did that journey happen? So is there any parallels between, performing music and the work you do with AI and creativity stuff today?
I think that's a great question, because it's something I used to struggle with a little bit, because I felt like I'd spent all this time training to be a musician, a singer. I performed all over the UK as a soloist, and then I became a marketing consultant, and then live video, and then speaking on stage, and then AI. And I kind of thought, what am I doing with my life? But it's now I look back, and it seems like this really amazing progression, because all of it is to do with creativity. I've always loved creativity. It's always been kind of part of who I am, really. But other things, I love problem solving, and I do love technical stuff as well. I've always been a bit of a geek. I had into computers from an early age, and live video did that. It kind of combined performance, teaching, and technology. But particularly with AI, I think this is even more transformative, the way it can impact people and help people. And that is a massive thing for me, how it's changed my life for the better. And there's a lot of kind of scary stuff that people talk about with AI, but the positive impact it can have on us is one of the main reasons why I do it, and the creativity side of things. So yeah, it's like, when you were a kid and you had all that Lego, and you kind of played around with all of this stuff, but it was fun, but it didn't necessarily make your life better in a kind of productivity way or whatever. Whereas with the Lego we've got now with AI, it can, and it can make a massive difference. And you can grow your business, you can become a better person. My memory has improved. Well, maybe my memory hasn't improved, but with AI, I can make it appear that my memory is better, if you know what I mean.
So this is a follow-up really quick, because you're a musician, right? Like very creative, and a lot of musicians are upset a little bit with the way, the AI, like for example, your little theme song I made at the very beginning was made with AI. A lot of musicians are upset that we're able to do that kind of thing now. So what are your thoughts as a musician, as a creative person, in that kind of realm of, these tools make it really easy to create like high quality video and audio content.
Yeah, I think the word I'd use is I have great empathy for the concerns that people have. Actually, in we were doing a workshop, Jeff, for Ecamm last year, and we were talking about you can have AI voiceovers, AI voices, and there was a voiceover artist there who was like really concerned about this. But I think with AI music, I think this can actually help us to be more creative. For some stuff, yes, it will replace. So maybe if you are producing a lot of kind of background music for certain kinds of creative output, then maybe AI is going to replace that. But for those of us who are really wanting to be more creative, AI can help in the process. It doesn't have to replace the whole thing. And interestingly, this is the other cool thing. Like, I met my wife at the Royal Northern College of Music as well. She's a musician. She's actually teaching there. She's on the academic staff, and they're looking at how they can use AI, not to replace the students' creativity, but actually to help them on their journey, help them to become more creative. And that's my big thing. You can use AI to pump out loads of content, whether it's music or visual stuff, but you can use it to help you to become more creative. And I know that's one thing that you talked about a lot in your talk at Social Media Marketing World, Jeff, that you had all of these ideas in your head of how you wanted to, I think it was with that, there was like a cartoon of you to describe a situation, a story. And now you can do that. That's actually, you could argue, okay, that's replacing certain aspects of creativity, but it's actually allowing you to be more creative. And that's the angle that I want to kind of focus on, really.
Yeah, that's great. And that's kind of where I come from as well. So thanks for that. I mean, that's all I think it's going to be. I mean, when Canva came out, designers were upset about Canva. It's gone, they thought that moving from radio to TV, that our minds would melt. But I guess that kind of has happened. But other than that,
that kind of happened just a little bit. But I mean, I think we're all creators, and we just want to be more creative and create more. And I think AI can help with that. Ian, you've been on the show a number of times. You've talked about AI on the show. We've talked about social media, content creation on the show. You're known as somebody who has helped entrepreneurs with live video and with social media in the past. Confident Live Academy, Seriously Social blog, all that stuff. You mentioned it briefly about how you started to talk about AI more and incorporate it into your teachings and your speeches and those sorts of things. But what inspired the pivot, like the full, let's go all in on AI? Did you have an aha moment where you decided, you know what, this is it. This is going to be a game changer for my business?
Yeah, well, it's funny. The pivot to AI, I was kind of reluctant to do, and it's probably the longest pivot I've ever done, because I was invested in the whole live video world and what I was doing and helping people with that. The cool thing, the funny thing was that I've been doing AI for years in my own business, and it's helped me in so many ways to be more productive, to be more efficient, to build systems. And AI tools, like say 2 to 3 years ago, they were emerging, they were becoming better, but really in the last 2 years they've just blown up. And I've built all these tools in my business. I didn't realize how cool they were or how useful they would be to other people. I was just getting on with it. And so it wasn't really until I started talking to other people, started working with more businesses, and businesses were asking me for training and for help building things. And that was really the aha moment. It was when people said, oh, how did you do that? Like, I need that in my business. And it was that. And since then I've been working. This is the cool thing, because I love to work with loads of different types of businesses. I've been working with environmental consultants, like companies in the fashion industry, insurance agents, and even a podcast about decluttering, and that's just been so fun. So it's maybe not one aha moment, but yeah, over a period of time, and yeah, that's where I am. That's where I've got to today.
Very cool. So I wanted to bring up some comments from our friends. Gary Stockton's in here as well. Thank you guys for all your comments and voting on the favorite logo. But Gary says he was talking about his guitar. Man, he's got it signed by all 4 members of the Smiths. He saw them in LA, and so very, very cool. And Dustin from one of our favorite AI tools from Magi says he gave that same Canva analogy on a podcast recently. And Rich with the mic drop says AI can't replace taste. Creativity will always be better. I totally agree. Yes. One of the things, Ian, that I wanted to, before we moved on kind of to the next section, is I wanted to talk about, you also host a podcast that helps entrepreneurs that have ADHD, and you've explored on that show how AI can assist with those challenges. So how has AI kind of personally helped you stay organized and amidst all these projects? Because you mentioned just a second ago all the different things you have laid out in front of you that you're helping other clients with AI. So do you use those tools kind of like an extra brain to offload, or how do you manage all that with these new AI tools that you have?
Oh yeah, yes, like big time. I mean, I use a variety of different tools. I mean, sometimes it is just ChatGPT just to help me. I know that I've got a lot of tasks for a particular client, so I will use ChatGPT for that. Particularly the projects part of the plus version or the paid versions of ChatGPT is great, or Notebook LM, or I've built my own systems to help me with those things, or brainstorming ideas, like going in the car and talking with ChatGPT, trying to kind of get what's in my head all cluttered up, which is definitely an ADHD thing, and just getting it in a I suppose more cohesive list of things. Getting out of my own head, like you've talked about this on the show before, like imposter syndrome, like there's those negative thoughts, and actually you can just talk it through and get out of your own head, focus on who you're trying to help, really. So yeah, it's just been so good for that. And other things that and a lot of people probably hate, like proposals, terms and conditions, personal things, like I got a fine from a car park because I put my wife's car registration instead of my own, and I managed to get the fee reduced from £150 to £20, things like that. It's just been an amazing thing to have what some people call the ADHD tax, which is when you forget things or when you lose track of things, and then you get taxed because of that. There's kind of fallback. But using all these tools helps you to be smart and efficient, and to really focus on what I do and what I think humans do best, and that is focus on their creativity. So that's awesome. Why I'm using all these tools.
I actually used, we just got a new car because we had one that was in a wreck, and I used ChatGPT to help me negotiate. So it was really awesome. So I was like, that's really cool. So cool stuff.
I think it helps too with when you're overwhelmed too by something, right? Like in the creative process and stuff. I think I shared this maybe last week or the week before. Viewers and listeners know I'm on a 60-day journey. I'm posting one piece of short form content every day for the next 60 days. And as I'm doing it, I have all these ideas in my head, and I want to convey, a script in a short amount of time. Sometimes I don't know where to start. Sometimes I don't know how to do that. So I'll just talk right into ChatGPT. I'll be like, here's what I need to hit. How should I structure it? It'll give me a short little script. It's in my voice because I'm already talking to it. And it's just one thing where instead of being overwhelmed, you can actively start to talk it out, and it can help you with that and calm you down and give you a roadmap with that. And Ian, you've talked so much about, automating the day-to-day. In a recent post, you said you're always building, tweaking, and optimizing a lot of your AI systems for your business and your clients. For those new to the AI workflow world, maybe they're just familiar with AI and they ask ChatGPT a question and they get it back, right? Can you kind of explain what an AI-driven workflow or system is? And do you have any examples of how you use it for content creation or in your business?
Yeah, there's a lot of jargon out there. I mean, it's with AI, and there's a lot of people out there that love to use these jargon words because it makes them look kind of clever. So like agentic AI and all this kind of stuff. But basically, a workflow is if you've ever used If This Then That or Zapier, it's just a series of steps. And if it's an AI workflow, it uses AI. I mean, it's kind of that simple. So like you could, like back in the day, you could say, if somebody posts something on Facebook, you could get your light bulb to switch on or something. That's probably not very helpful, but you could send an email or something like that.
Right.
But with workflows, you could do, you can put, for example, like ChatGPT in the middle. For example, you could monitor your favorite YouTube channels and then use AI to summarize the videos. But it could fetch the transcript or look at the what they're about, and then send you a daily email on that. Or you could monitor the temperature in your home office and send you an email that says you might want to drink a bit more water or put the fan on or something like that. You know, so it can be a lot more complicated and a lot more steps, and some of the workflows that I've created like are 20-30 steps, because you can do some really amazing stuff. You can kind of do looping, for example, if there are lots of YouTube videos or lots of blog posts that you want to look at, you can say summarize them all or summarize lots of emails, and using AI in the process. And some of this can be, so I used a jargon phrase before called agentic AI. And agentic AI basically is when you go into ChatGPT and you ask it a question, it will just give you a response based on what you've asked it. But agentic AI makes it feel a little bit more human-like. It will make a decision. So you give it some information, and then it will make a decision whether to look at your Google Calendar or your email or your Notion, and it's a little bit more, I suppose, autonomous. So you can do some really cool things like build workflows which will allow you to ask a question, say like, hey, what am I doing tomorrow? And with agentic AI, it can look at that and think, oh, okay, it looks like we need to first of all like check his calendar. He's meeting Jeff tomorrow. Who's Jeff? We better check his contacts, and it will check. Oh, Jeff. Okay, Jeff Sieh. He's in Texas. And so there's some really cool things that we can do with agentic AI. And that's one thing I'm really excited about. We're only kind of, dipping into it. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Dipping into the surface. That's the wrong phrase, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. The chat room is on fire right now, and we've got Dustin in there leading the charge, talking about he says one of the best AI personas I ever created was the Chris Voss persona. Helped me negotiate a 6-figure deal. If you don't know who Chris Voss is, he wrote the book Never Split the Difference. He was the FBI negotiator. So that is really cool. And and Chris is in here saying, Chris Stone saying that he's created some great personas as well. And Dustin goes, woot woot for an easy YouTube transcript fetch via AI. So, and lastly, Pascal says, I just realized how much I've missed listening to Ian's wise words and practical advice. That's got to be a bot, Ian, that you had programmed beforehand, but we'll let it slide.
Pascal's great to see you, Pascal. Lovely to see you.
One of the things that I want to talk about next, because you kind of brought it up, is this automation. And you mentioned this tool called N8N, and I know you use it in your podcast and your content workflow. So I know I'm not super familiar with it. What is it, and how does it help streamline your work? Can you kind of walk us through how you've integrated that to, in podcast production or social media posting? What are you using it for, and what are the benefits you're seeing from it?
Yeah, so a lot of AI people love N8N for loads of reasons. It's very similar to the likes of Zapier, but in some ways it's easier to use, in some ways it's more difficult. It's brilliant if you're creative because it's very visual. You're kind of connecting lots of steps together. We talked about workflows. So it helps. It's more visual than the likes of Zapier. The other cool thing about it is there is a paid version which runs on their own kind of cloud. But you can actually install this on your own computer or on your own server for free, which is mind-blowing. So I have like over 130 workflows running. It allows, because it is free, sometimes I've found with the likes of Zapier, I'm not knocking Zapier. Zapier is great, and they've made some amazing inroads into the whole AR world, and in some ways they're leading it. But I think because it's free, it just doesn't limit my creativity, and I've been able to build so many different things. It's got agentic tools built into it, so if you want to play around with that, it's like a massive playground of things. So as I said, I've got over 135 workflows. You can do some really simple stuff. You can do more complicated stuff. So one thing that I built is what I'm calling truthful YouTube. And basically it subscribes, or it monitors videos on YouTube channels that I want to look at, and it will transcribe them and will give me more of a truthful title and description without all the hype, because I get really fed up with all this. This is just because we're all trying to create content for, to help with the algorithm, which is great as a content creator, but as a human, I get really frustrated with that. So that's one thing. I built an assistant that helps with my calendar and stuff. I built a tool that listens into Instagram and Facebook messages, one that if there's any kind of errors on my website, it will ping and will actually ask ChatGPT, what's the problem and can you fix it? An Apple Health analyzer. So it will, if my blood pressure, not my blood pressure, but my pulse goes up, or I don't know, it will actually tell me what I need to know without worrying me. And also a home assistant workflow, which does things like will switch my lights on, will tell me what our electricity usage was yesterday, and actually look at the weather and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of fun stuff. I've only kind of mentioned a few because we'd be here all day. So if I mentioned all of them.
This is fast because I went and just kind of looked at it when you talked about it, and it looked a little bit like Notion, right? Like Notion is super powerful, but if you don't know what you're doing, like it can be overwhelming. So are there templates that because like Notion has templates that you can buy or download for free. Does it have some templates that you can like start with?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. So again, like Notion, I got overwhelmed really quickly. And then you watch these YouTube videos of people making these like amazing things. You go look at the YouTube thumbnail and it's like probably 1,000 nodes on the page. And, don't start with that. You can actually just go to, they've got a kind of whole repository where you can copy and paste. So you just copy it, paste it, and you got this workflow to mess around with. Again, some YouTubers, content creators will actually give you templates for free as well. And just start simply and build it up over time. It is, in some ways, it is a bit more difficult to connect them up than, say, the likes of Zapier. It's a bit more of a manual process, so you do have to be patient. But this is the cool thing with AI. You can ask, Claude is particularly good at this, better than ChatGPT, I think. You can actually ask it to help you with the process. So if you're struggling with anything, you can even get it to create workflows for you. So you can say, create this workflow. It will give you this code, which is in JSON format. You just copy and paste that into N8N and you've got this workflow. That's amazing.
Awesome. And by the way, if you're like, I don't know, should I use Claude or should I use, ChatGPT? You know what? You could just get Magi and have access to every single one of those large language models. If you go to magi.co/Jeff, you would save some money. magai.co/Jeff. That was not even, I just did that just because I love Dustin.
That was impressive. And it's true because the thing is, like, they're all different. Like I love ChatGPT for most things, but Claude for coding is just amazing. And, but it keeps changing. Like Grok 4's just come out, and apparently that's amazing for certain things. I haven't tried it yet, but there's just so many.
That's why Magi is just the best deal out there. So anyway, enough of plugging Dustin's tool, but it is a good tool. So,
Ian, I had a follow up around you using N8N. I've been using Gumloop to build some things, and it's really, really cool. Have you used that at all? And do you know any difference between the two? Because a lot of the videos I see, creators are using either Gumloop or NA10. I don't know. I haven't looked too much at NA10, but Gumloop seems to be somewhat similar too.
Yeah, so there are a few. Yeah, NA10 is not the only one out there. There's I haven't heard of Gumloop. There's another tool whose name I've forgotten. And there's obviously the Zapier is doing a lot of really cool stuff now. So like looking at Gumloop, yeah, they do. So I don't know whether you've got the ability to put it on your own server. That's one of the main reasons I love with NA10. You can install it on your computer, or I pay. Well, I started paying like $5 a month for a server with Linode. So all I was paying was $5 a month. And I think I even got a credit, so I wasn't paying anything for a year. But what I would say, NA10 can be a little bit, can be a bit techie in places. So if Gumloop is easier, you may have to pay for it. Then just find the right tool for you. This is one of the things I think a lot of geeks out there, such as me, we can say, no, you have to use NA10, otherwise you're a fool. And that's just bad advice. You've got to find the right tool for you. Personally, I love NA10, but do shop around, look at all the other tools out there.
Just heads up for you guys. Magi, Dustin just said, just FYI, we're already building workflow builders into Magi. That's the other cool thing. Sorry, I'm going to little commercial again, because Dustin is, as soon as these APIs open up, he's already got Grok in there. He's working on this stuff now. He is so stinking fast on getting these things up. So once again, props to the folks over, and mostly Dustin over at Magi. So very, very cool. Connor, you had the next question, I believe.
Yep. Ian, you've also talked a lot about Google Apps script hacks, right? So using their own things and creating in their ecosystem. You're a fan of that, especially for automating like really annoying, mundane tasks. Do you have a couple examples of how you can automate some of these tasks with Google App Scripts, and what you really like using it for?
Yeah, so this is getting more into, I know we're probably going to talk about this in a bit, and this is kind of more into the vibe coding side of things, because it does involve code. So that's the first thing. Like Google Apps Scripts, I think you can probably tell with the name Scripts. But the cool thing is, if you have an idea of what you want to create, you can potentially create it. And because I use Google Docs and Google Sheets for so much stuff, and I've seen like these extensions that people have built in the past, I thought, oh, that's a really cool idea, but it doesn't quite do what I want. Or I know this is moving on from Google Apps Scripts, but just as an aside, like browser extensions, you can now build your own browser extensions, which is amazing using with the help of AI. So with Google Apps Scripts, you can start to add your own menus to, say, Google Sheets, and buttons, which will do certain things. For example, you could get it to send an email out to guests on your podcast, for example, to remind them of something with all the information in there. You can send data on a Google Sheet to a tool like NA10 as part of that workflow, which is something that I've done for a client recently. You can create forms. So one thing that I've got is I've got a little menu at the top which says Manage Podcast. I click on it, and one of the options is Create New Episode. When I click on that, a form pops up with all the information I need to remember, like the title, the date of this is going to be published, the episode number, all of this stuff. And when I click OK, it will add it to the Google Sheet. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do with all of this stuff. And it might sound complicated, but with the likes of Claude or ChatGPT, you can basically say, I want to create this automation in Google Sheets that does this, 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 and this. Can you tell me if this is possible and how we would create it? And the way I would do it is always ask it to go through it on a high level. Like, what's the high level view of how we create it? Think about the structure of this and how we're going to do it. And what are the potential issues? And then ask it to create a plan to build this app. And then ask it to build it. And it is then a case of really copying and pasting it into Google Apps. If any of it sounds really techy and you don't understand it, one of my favorite prompts or part of a prompt is explain as if you're speaking to a child. And or you don't know anything, and just or explain it in simple terms. And I do that a lot because then it will help you through the stages. You can paste it in. Now, the thing I will say with all of this kind of stuff is be prepared for there to be mistakes and bugs with it. But it has changed so many things in my workflows, being able to create all of these ideas that I had in my head that I can now create with Google Apps scripts. And that will work with Google Docs, Google Sheets, even Google Forms, everything. It's amazing. And
Wow.
and even email, Gmail. Oh my goodness, I'd forgotten about that. There's so much stuff you can do to help you organize your email as well.
See, that's what I need. It's not pretty in the old Jeff Sieh inbox.
Yeah.
We've got some great comments here from our pal Dustin at Magi. He says, here's the thing, though, about all these workflow builders with truly agentic AI, not the illusion of what we currently have. We won't need to build workflows anymore. Like, this is the worst it's going to be, folks. It's getting better every day. And then he gets really nerdy and says, with new protocols like MCP and yada, 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 they just build workflows on the fly just from our typed or spoken instructions. Very, very cool. And then he has EILI5, explain it like I'm 5. That is very, very good. And this is another tool I know a lot of people use. Replit has transformed my workflows for everything. A lot of people have using that as well. So many cool things. And I want to bring up another one, Ian, because I used it a couple years ago when it was really big, when it was making its own podcast. And of course, we're talking about Notebook LM. That was the thing that got in the news. You could drop in all this stuff and it would make a realistic sounding podcast with two hosts talking back and forth about your content. I kind of got away from that because that was just kind of a viral thing. I mean, I don't know how much use you'd get out of it unless you were studying for a test. But you've mentioned Notebook LM quite a bit. It's one of your game-changing tools. So how are you using it for learning or content research? Like, in what ways does it become your second brain to help organize that information and prep for content?
Yeah, so I don't use it all the time, but I do pretty regularly, at least 1 or 2 times a week, and for specific things. And it's kind of like understanding how it differs from the likes of ChatGPT and Claude, because, like, for example, in ChatGPT, you can create projects now where you can dump documents in there and transcriptions, and it will reply using or referring to some of those documents in there. But the cool thing with Notebook LM is you can link it with, you can add YouTube videos in there. It will give you the transcription. You can upload PDFs and do Google Docs and so much stuff. And I mean, you can add a lot. So I for some reason, they upgraded me to the Pro version. I mean, there is a free version which gives you loads. It's at least 30 documents you can have. Yep. But the cool thing is that the AI is, the LLM is, I suppose, is the correct terminology here, is it will try to only use those sources. So if you ask it a question, if I put loads of transcripts from this show, for example, and then I ask it a question about something you've never talked about, then it will say, it will say that, like, there's nothing in there that talks about this. I could, so you cool. know that it's only specifically to do with that information. So the way I've used it, if I'm wanting to do a deep dive and learning about something, for example, it might be agentic AI. It might be like, what was it, MLPs that I think Justin was talking about. You might think, well, what on earth is that? So you do a YouTube search and you do a search on the internet and you find all these videos about it and you just put them in there. And then you can then start to ask it questions and it will answer those from the sources. It can also then create a podcast. So it's a great way of learning on the move. So if I go on a walk, I will sometimes listen to a Notebook LM podcast. Now, the cool thing that they added, I don't know when they added it, but you can now interact with the podcast. So I did this recently. I was meeting a potential a potential client, and I wanted to understand about their business. So I put all of their about pages on their website, information about them and what they were looking for, some of my previous work in there, and also the transcript from our first meeting. And I converted that into a podcast with these two characters talking. And then you can interrupt it and ask it questions. So you click this button and it says, "Oh, hey, there's a question from the listener," and then you can then say, "Okay, yeah, you did talk about that, but from the sources, does it talk anything about like their budget?" And it will then look at all of the sources and it will then answer that. So it's a great way if you're wanting to, for example, you have a meeting with a client. I can, for example, do this in the car or whatever. Or go on a walk, and I can interact, and it's an amazing way of learning. Now, the other thing that you can also do is to realize what Notebook LM is not so good at, and I don't particularly like the output. It's very dense. It's not very creative. That's a good thing in a way because you want it to be exact. But then what you can do is you can paste that back into ChatGPT or Claude. And then you can carry on the conversation there. Or you can do it the other way around. You can add some of that information. Maybe you've been chatting a lot in ChatGPT. You can paste the chat into Notebook LM. So don't just use one tool. You can use a lot of them at the same time.
That is so cool. And by the way, Dustin heard my cry. And he says, "Jeff, good news. We're releasing MCP today or Monday, and Magi will be able to manage your Gmail." Wah, wah, wah. I mean, that's awesome. I need to have a giant air horn that'll go off. I'll have to add that next time. That is very cool, Dustin. Yeah, there
you
we
just
go.
tell me and I'll do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Manually. Two things I want to talk about. Notebook LM. I think what else it could be really good for, because I've already used it for this. SOPs. If you upload all of your SOPs there and you're onboarding a new either VA or a new employee or someone like that, you can then share that notebook with them and they can ask it questions and follow-ups around SOP. It can really help with that.
Smart.
What I also think will be cool for course creators is if you have a course, you get all your transcripts, you upload it to this Notebook LM. Again, you can send it and you can just send the chat portion. So the person doesn't have to edit anything. They can just ask it questions. And it's almost like you've created your own course LLM that your user can now interact with after they've purchased your course. So I think that
is smart, Connor.
Really, really cool.
Yeah, don't let anybody tell you different. That's a smart thing, Connor. Really good way to go. That's good. Yeah.
I'm working on that for something I got in the can. But I think what a lot of this comes back to is prompting, right? It's talking to these LLMs in a way that's going to be efficient and get the output that you want. I think gone are the days when we were, just trying to get into ChatGPT and asking it one question, right? And like, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? Now it's all about giving them as much information as possible. So Ian, what are some of your tips when it comes to prompting AI effectively? Do you have like techniques or rules that you follow when it comes to content, context, and examples? How do you prompt?
I think it depends on what I'm wanting to do. So a lot of the time I don't worry too much because I'm just, for example, I have ideas that I'm brainstorming, because I've added in the custom instructions into, for example, ChatGPT. That's the first thing is if the tool that you're using has the equivalent of custom instructions, this is where you're telling it about you. You're telling it about the way you want it to how you want it to answer. So for me, it's like, please respond in British English, none of this American jargon, please. Things like that. Don't use M dashes or emojis and all that kind of stuff. Then you're going to get hopefully a good response out of that. The other thing, for example, with voice, I don't know if anyone else has had this problem. I used to love the advanced voice mode in ChatGPT, but in the last month, it's just got really bad, at least for me, because
it pauses.
But also it's very shallow in its responses. It's so eager to please. It's so affirming. It keeps on saying how amazing I am. Oh, and it's also trying to be so hard to sound like a human. that it just winds me up. So I actually came up with a whole prompt to try to help it just to be, I suppose, to be more to think about critical thinking and things like that. So I think I actually wrote it down here, and I might be able to share it with you because I think this is. I just found it really annoying. I'll find it out later because I don't want to lose my place. But
Right.
in terms of the actual prompt, if you're wanting to get some really high quality outputs, then this is what I would do. This is my technique. The first thing is to set the role of the AI. For example, you could say you are a social media strategist, or you are a sustainability focused supply chain consultant with expertise in ethical manufacturing and textile production. I had to write that down because I'd never remember that, but be really specific. The next thing is to define the task. What is it step by step that you want the AI tool to do? The next thing is to provide it with AI fuel, which is data. Chris Penn calls these knowledge blocks. So if you don't give it information about, for example, the company you're working with, or the issue that you're working with, it's not going to do a particularly good job. The next thing, and this is really important, is to add constraints. Some people call this negative prompts, but this is when you say, don't do this, or please avoid this. When I mentioned don't use M dashes or emojis, that's an example of telling it what not to do. And then finally, this is a ridiculous phrase. It's called contextual anchoring. But basically what that means is you're telling it what the situation is or why you need this. For example, you might be creating a proposal and you want to help with some information. So you say, well, this is to help me create a proposal for this client. And you do it that way. So if you do all of those things, that will really help. But on a final note, just to say, AI models are becoming so much better than they were 2 years ago, particularly some of the thinking models. And they can actually do a lot of this for you. One of the best advice that was given me is say, like, what have I missed out? What questions can you ask me to help you do your job better? And over time, don't expect you to get a perfect result first, but over time you'll get a much better result.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've seen a lot of people talk about is like have it interview you so it knows about you, and then it'll help, move on that way. So
one thing that I'm going back a few episodes when Phil Phelan was on our show talking about when you prompt, be sure to also say, do you understand this? Do you know what you're going to do? And then say, do not take action yet, because you want it to basically reaffirm, yeah, I got it all. This is what you want, right? Before it goes rogue and starts answering when it doesn't fully understand what you're asking.
That's so true. Have you ever seen the film Up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the dog in it. He just wants to please. He's just like he's so eager to please. And ChatGPT, Claude, they're all like that. They are programmed to want to please you. So they sometimes will respond straight away, and you think, no, I didn't. So you have to be like, only respond when I tell you to. There's another hack you can do with voice, which is you might be much better at articulating it over voice, but you don't want it to respond with the whole thing using voice. So you can then say, I want you to do the following, but only respond when I say yes. And so you stop the voice call, and then you go back to your office or whatever, and you just type yes, and then it will respond. It's always eager to please. I always like to put the phrase like use critical thinking or always ask, and that really seems to help a lot. But then you need to keep reminding it over time because of the context window, it tends to forget things. So keep reminding it.
Yeah. Dustin has a great tip. He says what he tells people to prompt Ask me all the questions you need me to answer in order to complete this task. So that's a great one to write down, folks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, ask me all the questions you need me to answer in order to complete this task. That's a great tip. We're going to talk here, and you just mentioned a little bit about voice vibe, and we're going to talk about some of the tools coming up. But first, I want to do a shout out to our friends over at Ecamm, who are always supportive, and they have given me a great deal. If you go to ecamm.com/Jeff and use code Jeff15, you'll save 15% on your first purchase. So thank you for Ecamm for sponsoring this show. And by the way, I want to talk about this because you talked about voice. We kind of dove into it a little bit, but the vibe coding, we gave you some tools about that, and let's really dive into this vibe coding because there's some controversy about it, and it's really a hot trend right now. By chatting with AI, actually building these tools, or even doing it by voice instead of writing code line by line. Tools like Cursor is one tool that people are using, or they're enabling these non-developers to create software by, just like you were saying, Ian, describing what you want. So can you explain what vibe coding is in simple terms, and like share your thoughts on it? How do you think non-coders, like, I mean, you have a coding background, but like, could somebody like me who has just barely destroyed JavaScript, can I go in there and use this? Like, how can like normal people who aren't super nerds learn how to do vibe coding, or is it still way too complicated for normal people, mere mortals, to do?
Yeah, what are you trying to say? Yeah, so there is a lot of controversy about this, and I don't like the term vibe coding, but basically the idea is it's creating code or creating an app using prompts. I mean, that's basically it, but it's not just, it doesn't, sometimes you can go into ChatGPT. In fact, you can do this. You can go into ChatGPT or Claude and say, build me a web app using. You have to know a few technical terms, like say use jQuery and HTML and CSS to build me a web app that shows me the planets in the solar system using 3D animation, make it look really cool, use these colors, and it will literally create an app that will run within Claude or ChatGPT. I mean, seriously, try it, and it will actually. Doesn't always work because it makes bugs sometimes, but that is vibe coding. So you can, whatever tool you use, you'll be able to do that. So the reason there's a bit of controversy, there's a couple of reasons. The first thing is, we talked about this before about musicians or artists, voiceover artists, getting concerned because this was taking away some of that, the expertise or the creativity away from the true professionals. And I think there is this concern from developers that it's potentially taking away their job. I don't think so, because vibe coding is amazing and it will only get better. But the thing I love about it is it allows me to create stuff that's been in my head for years. I do have a developer background, but I've always known my limitations. So like, we can't be good at everything. So I can do a bit of PHP and JavaScript, so to get a bit technical, but I've always known my limitations. And so now I can go into the likes of Cursor, which is a coding tool, but you basically just go in there and say, build me this app. And I actually asked it to create a Chrome extension that would basically, when I go to Facebook, it would look at what's on my feed and give me a summary of what's there, because there's so much clutter, and I find that part of social media so overwhelming. So despite all of that, I can build these tools. I'm building a unified inbox, or that's my idea, that will take my feed from WhatsApp and Facebook and allow me to see all the messages from those platforms. So I will do a much better job at dealing with all the information overload. Now, the concern is, the big concern, I suppose, is security, because a real professional developer hopefully is going to be able to look at the code and notice issues and security issues, and where there's a clear mistake that the AI has made. So you do have to be careful with that. And so what I would say is, for non-coders particularly, I think it does help to have some basic knowledge of coding or apps. Or if you don't know, again, as I can't remember what Dustin's prompt here was, but basically explain like a child,
right?
So that you can really understand it, and make sure you're keeping it simple to begin with. I think this is great for internal tools, for tools that you're playing around with. If you're going to build like a full app that is that's going to require usernames and passwords and sensitive information, I would be careful with that kind of stuff. But there is so much amazing stuff that you can do, and it's only going to get better. Some of the tools, there's Claude Code is apparently a really good tool. There's Windsurf is the other.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many ones coming out.
They got bought by, I think Windsurf got bought by one of the big companies. Yeah.
ChatGPT, OpenAI bought that. Yeah. So yeah, it's so fast moving. And Dustin mentioned MCP. I can never remember the name of that machine. I'm going to forget what it is, but basically this will then allow you to connect with other servers out there. You can that will help you build these things automatically. It will also do things like you can also put the documentation in. So, for example, it will know everything about a particular programming language, and if it doesn't have that information, you can point it to the documentation, and it will know everything about that as well. It's a bit like the Matrix, where he basically downloads the cool. Everything it is about to fly a helicopter. So that's what you're doing with the likes of Cursor on these tools.
I want to learn Kung Fu. That's what I want. Just put it in my brain.
Yeah,
there we go.
And I wanna watch you do Kung Fu because I think that would be
I'm sure. Yeah.
We have a couple words of warning from Dustin as well. He says it's not super complicated, meaning vibe coding, but it is very dangerous if you don't know how to code. Ask the guy who got hacked or the guy who woke up to a $45,000 hosting bill. And he also says his warning: do not vibe code an app and make it public without consulting a real developer, which I think I would totally agree with. I think it's a great place to start, but maybe not a great place to release to the world. Right. As we have kind of a time for one final question, and we've talked so much about how AI can help us in the creativity and creation space and automate, redundant or time-consuming tasks. But the final question is a meta one, and I don't mean Facebook meta. I mean, when should we not use AI? At what point, what task, what creative prompts do you think we should say, you know what, this isn't for AI, I got to use my noggin to start?
Everyone's going to have a different idea on this. I'm pretty clear. Like I want to use AI to help me become more human and become more creative. I don't want to use it to replace me. And I know everyone has different thoughts on this, but like I personally just think if you're going to use it to fully automate your response and make it look like it's you and almost like fake it. So I think I'm fine with using tools where it responds as if it's you. For example, I could create like the IAG bot. That's totally cool because you've been clear about it. But if I'm like just posting on social media, if I'm like creating an AI avatar of myself that looks like me, that sounds like me, and I'm not being clear that this is not me, I don't think that's cool. And I'm also like, if you're using AI for a complete automation from beginning to end, where there's no human in the creative process at all, I personally have issues with that, because we're going to get into a situation where, and you see these on YouTube, these workflows where you can create an agentic workflow which will do the research, it will check what's trending, do the research, create a script, then create a video for TikTok and pump it all out like 2 or 3 times a day. And my concern with that is that it's not you. And then you're getting AI that's going to be, we've got so much clutter, so much stuff that we can't deal with it, that you're having to use AI to be able to summarize all of this. And then you think, well, what's the point in creating it in the first place? So
I think,
I have an issue with that.
I think YouTube, I've been seeing it in my feed that they're delisting or devaluing that faceless, repetitive video that AI is cranking out. And so a lot of people are that were doing that strategy, or it's not going to work anymore. So I think you're totally right on that. So. Yeah,
and it's just, I think it's a case of like, if you're trying to kind of trick people, and you might not even think you're tricking, but I think my mantra in a way is like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. There's a lot of cool stuff, and like I have played around with some really cool stuff just because it's fun. But would I actually then put it out on the world? No. I just think we need to be careful. We need to think. But we're all going to have different ideas. Like this is where I am. But I think if what I'd recommend is that everyone just sit down and think through, like, what are you comfortable with? What would you, from your point of view as a consumer, as a content consumer, not a creator, what's good with you? Are you okay with everything being automated, everything being AI, and you don't really care about the human in the process at all? Fine, if you're okay with that.
I don't want to be friends with you. I don't want to be friends with you if you're doing that. No.
Yeah, but it's like we're already got information overload. Let's use AI to help us to be more efficient, productive, and to help us do what we do best as humans. As I keep saying, help us to be more creative.
Well, Ian, this has been, once again, a fascinating show. We are at time, but I don't want to leave without people knowing where they can find the amazing Ian Anderson Gray. Where can people find out more about you and what you got going on?
So my website, iag.me, is probably the place to go. I've had a bit of a break from social probably in the last couple of months, but I am getting back to it. And the place I'm probably going to be hanging out most is on LinkedIn. So just search for my name, Ian Anderson Gray. That's Gray with an A. And yeah, it'd be great to connect.
Awesome. And we also have the... There we go. It's the unsinkable Connor Brown, folks. So Connor, all hail. What do you got going on?
All hail, bound down. Vacation Kingdoms. Follow me on social media, especially Instagram, TikTok at Vacation Kingdoms, as I do my 60-day challenge of posting one short form video piece of content every single day for 60 days. You can head over to vacationkingdoms.com to learn more about what I have going on. Always love having IAG on the show.
This has been awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. Gary, Chris Stone, Dina, Dustin from Magi, Pascal, all you folks who came and left comments, we appreciate you. I am Jeff Sieh. I would love it if you sign up for my newsletter at jeffsieh.com/news. We have fun over in the newsletter community. Awesome good stories usually come out Tuesday, Wednesdays, and then on Fridays for the show. So go ahead and sign up for that. I guarantee you it's not a waste of time, and we do have a lot of fun. So jeffsieh.com/news. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody. Have a great one.